Good evening and welcome to the Hairenik Media Newscast. Tonight we will be bringing you updates from the homeland and the region, as well as the latest in community news. Negotiations on a peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan have concluded, but there are no signs that the agreement will be signed. While Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan speaks optimistically about positive developments ahead, the parliamentary opposition argues that what is portrayed as good news for the authorities is not beneficial for citizens as it involves concessions. The opposition also contends that current negotiations are based on preconditions set by Baku. If negotiations had truly concluded, they ask, what issues remain to be discussed? It is worth noting that Yerevan is prepared to sign the agreement, but Baku has imposed preconditions that must be met before any signing can take place. Baku reiterated that constitutional changes in Armenia are a key condition for peace. Azerbaijan's foreign ministry claimed Armenia's coat of arms reflects territorial claims and emphasized that it has no plans to reduce its demands. Responding to Prime Minister Pashinyan's statement that Armenia's constitution did not contain territorial claims from Azerbaijan, Baku insisted that amendments are necessary and accused Pashinyan of misleading the international community on the issue of Azerbaijani-Armenian peace process. During the European Political Community Summit in Tirana, Albania, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev engaged in a brief discussion on the sidelines. According to the Armenian government's Facebook page, the two reviewed the agreed-upon text of the normalization agreement and discussed the next steps toward its signing. Additionally, Pashinyan approached Turkish President Recep Erdogan while he was speaking with Aliyev. Pashinyan and Aliyev met separately with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who in a social media post urged the swift signing of the agreement and expressed readiness to support regional connectivity initiatives. In addition, a meeting took place between Pashinyan and EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas, during which they exchanged views on the ongoing negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Kallas highlighted the importance of signing the peace agreement in promoting regional stability and cooperation. Moreover, Pashinyan engaged with other summit attendees, including French President Emmanuel Macron. According to Pashinyan's office, Macron reaffirmed France's steadfast support for the peace process, emphasizing that stability and security in the South Caucasus are crucial for broader regional cooperation. ARF Borough Representative and Opposition Armenia Faction Deputy Armen Rustamyan emphasized during the National Assembly's Foreign Relations Committee session that the decision-making process by the political majority must become more transparent to the Armenian people. Addressing members of the ruling Civil Contract Party, Rustamyan criticized their concept of independent Armenia, which they describe as real Armenia. He argued that the ruling party perceives the words Armenian and victory as threats to this real Armenia, and accused them of shaping the country through a series of defeats. Rustamyan stated, "You cannot reconcile these two ideas. You are operating within a logic that subordinates all the victories achieved by the Armenian people. Instead of building real Armenia through successes, you are doing so through defeats, bringing one defeat after another and presenting them to the people as great achievements," he added. He warned that there is no future in the face of the Turkish-Azerbaijani front, which remains humiliated and insecure. Human rights defender Roman Yerityan announced that Artsakh President Samvel Shahramanyan has signed a decree that invalidates the decree on the dissolution of the Republic of Artsakh, which was signed on September 26, 2023. Yerityan states that neither decree holds legal force, as both conflict with the fundamental laws of Artsakh. He published Decree No. 659 to reinforce that the legal framework of Artsakh remains in effect, rejecting the notion that Artsakh has been legally dissolved. ARF member and Armenia Alliance MP Artur Khachatryan sharply criticized the government's anti-corruption policies, comparing them to Azerbaijani President Aliyev's manipulation of the displaced person issue. Khachatryan argued that the real aim isn't solving corruption, but staging it for show with baseless accusations. Khachatryan pointed out that during Pashinyan's 8 years in power, the government has not secured a single conviction related to corruption, stressing, only the court can issue verdicts. So where are the verdicts? Anahit Manasyan, human rights defender of Armenia, acknowledged the use of disproportionate force by police, explicitly noting that her office has documented numerous cases of excessive police violence, highlighting ongoing violations of citizens' rights, conditions that violate international standards. During the presentation of her office's annual report in the National Assembly, Manasyan emphasized the importance of addressing obstacles and solving problems within the system. She also underlined the necessity of ensuring that the public receives clear and accurate information about the use of special measures during protests and assemblies. Moreover, she called for comprehensive systemic reforms to improve the human rights situation in Armenia. In a developing story, a senior official from Armenia's National Archive has been formally charged with spying for Azerbaijan. Authorities have not disclosed the suspect's identity or specific details of the case. The individual is accused of sharing sensitive archival data with Azerbaijani contacts. However, the suspect denies the allegations of high treason and espionage, asserting that the charges are unfounded. Amaduni Virabian, the former director of the National Archive, clarified that the case involves historical information about Azerbaijanis living in Armenia during the 19th and early 20th centuries. He emphasized that these records are part of the archive's publicly accessible files and are not classified. Virabian explained that such information has been published in various books, including the Caucasian Calendar, which lists villages, residents, and their ethnicities from that period. He further affirmed that none of the documents in the archive contain state secrets or sensitive information that could threaten national security, reaffirming that the archive holds no classified materials and that spying allegations are baseless. In a troubling development in Armenia's Syunik province, around 60 hectares of forest have been cleared in the Shigahol State Reserve by Azerbaijani forces to build military infrastructure. The total disturbed area now exceeds 90 hectares. Satellite imagery confirms extensive road construction and fortifications, particularly near the village of Nerkin Hand. The reserve, a key ecological zone with endangered species, has suffered major environmental damage. Despite the scale of deforestation, Armenia's Ministry of Environment has not released detailed assessments, citing limited access and security concerns. It remains unclear if international conservation organizations have been formally notified. The Georgian authorities have announced that all alcoholic products entering Georgia will now require laboratory testing, regardless of whether the goods are destined for Georgia itself or are simply transiting through the country. This new regulation is expected to delay shipments by approximately 1 month, causing significant logistical disruptions for producers and exporters across the region. In response, brandy producers and exporters gathered outside the Georgian embassy in Yerevan to protest against the physical checks imposed on their alcoholic beverages during transit through Georgian territory. They emphasized that these products are not intended for sale in Georgia and questioned the necessity of such inspections. The protesters revealed that they had submitted a formal request to the Ministry of Economy 2 weeks ago to address their concerns, but so far no resolution has been provided. In a strong diplomatic message through the latest developments amid escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, the Baku authorities have urged India to exercise caution regarding the Armenian-Azerbaijani relations, emphasizing that Azerbaijan's position on the Pakistan-India crisis is based on international law. Azerbaijani Deputy Foreign Minister Yalchin Rafiev advised India to carefully approach its dealings with Azerbaijan and Armenia, expressing Baku's expectations that India will avoid any actions that could hinder the normalization process between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This warning follows recent accusations by India that Azerbaijan, and by extension Turkey, have sided with Pakistan during India's military response to Pakistan's attack in Kashmir last month. In a decisive move, the Confederation of All India Traders announced a nationwide boycott of all trade and commercial activities with Turkey and Azerbaijan. the organization's leaders called on businesses to cease dealings with these countries and urged the film industry to stop shooting films and commercials there. Additionally, India has taken further measures by blocking the X page of Turkish international news channel TRT World, signaling its displeasure with Ankara's foreign policies. Indian universities have also cut ties with institutions in Turkey and Azerbaijan. Meanwhile, the diplomatic tensions are impacting travel trends. After major Indian travel agencies suspended packages to Turkey and Azerbaijan, Indian tourists are increasingly favoring Armenia and Greece, citing strategic alliances and diplomatic considerations. Conversely, many travelers are choosing to avoid visiting Turkey and Azerbaijan, as both countries have publicly expressed support for Pakistan, an act that has sparked significant resentment within Indian society. UNICEF is set to close its office in Baku, joining other international organizations like UNDP, UNFPA, UNHCR, and ICRC, which have already reduced or shut down their activities in Azerbaijan. Some have shifted operations to regional offices, while others have exited entirely. This development comes amid ongoing reports of a crackdown on political opponents and journalists in Baku, raising concerns that the departure of these organizations could further embolden the authoritarian regime of Azerbaijan. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Azerbaijan's Special Forces have launched a joint military exercise in Artsakh. Both countries say the drill aims to enhance border security and prevent regional threats. Senior military officials from Iran and Azerbaijan reviewed the objectives, scenarios, operational areas, and multi-phase structure of the joint exercise. Next month, the U.S. Commissions on International Religious Freedom (USCIRF) will convene a hearing to examine the state of religious freedom in Azerbaijan, highlighting ongoing concerns about the country's treatment of religious communities. Religious freedom conditions in Azerbaijan remain troubling. The country's religion law enforces strict registration requirements for religious groups, limiting their activities and registration processes. In recent years, tensions with Iran have escalated, and the Azerbaijani government has reportedly arrested and imprisoned a record number of Shia Muslims, allegedly on religious grounds. Many of those detained have accused law enforcement of physical violence and other forms of mistreatment. Additionally, religious sites in Artsakh continue to face threats as Azerbaijani authorities develop the region and eliminate Armenian cultural and religious heritage. In February, the U.S. Commission delegation visited Azerbaijan, engaging with religious communities, human rights activists, and government officials. Based on these discussions, the Commission's 2025 annual report recommended that the U.S. Department of State designate Azerbaijan to the special watch list for severe violations of religious freedom. David Vartanyan, son of imprisoned former Artsakh state minister and philanthropist Ruben Vartanyan, called the father's detention in Azerbaijan part of a broader ethnic cleansing. He told GB News that his father was detained while trying to leave Artsakh during a mass exodus of about 120,000 Armenians following Azerbaijan's 2023 offensive, characterizing this displacement, accompanied by the destruction of churches and Christian sites, as ethnic cleansing. Human rights lawyer Jared Genzer told GB News that Ruben Vartanyan has been denied access to a Bible and criticized the lack of global media coverage, noting that attention has focused on other conflicts, including the wars in Gaza and Ukraine, while ignoring the plight of Christians in the region. He also criticized Azerbaijani and Armenian authorities for not prioritizing the release of prisoners, suggesting that Aliyev views these actions as part of a long-standing effort to ethnically cleanse the region. A group of U.S. senators, led by Senator Chris Van Hollen, has urged the Trump-Vance administration to investigate violations of the Leahy Law and restrictions on humanitarian aid concerning Artsakh and other conflict zones. In a formal letter, the senators requested that the U.S. Government Accountability Office conduct a thorough investigation of the U.S. government's implementation of certain U.S. laws regarding the delivery of humanitarian assistance and assistance to foreign security forces. In community news, the Hamaskayan Educational and Cultural Society of the Eastern United States held its 47th Annual Representative Assembly in Washington, D.C. The Assembly recognized the dedicated service of the outgoing regional executive and discussed new initiatives to strengthen Hamaskein's cultural mission in the region. Representatives emphasized engaging all age groups, especially youth, and called for increased collaboration among chapters through joint events to foster community spirit. ARF Eastern Region Central Committee Chairwoman Ani Chalasyan praised the outgoing leadership for their dedication, noting the region's ongoing commitment to preserving and promoting Armenian culture, language, and identity despite ongoing challenges in the diaspora. The Assembly concluded with the election of a new Eastern Regional Executive. In Watertown, Massachusetts, a special blessing ceremony was held for the book Artsakh is Ours under the auspices of the Armenian Relief Society of Eastern USA and with the participation of the author Naidi Mkrtchyan. The book, edited by Tamar Hergelian and illustrated by Mary Gharibian, aims to educate and inspire young readers about Artsakh's history, culture, and landmarks. It features key sites like Amaras, Dadivank, Stepanagert, and Shushi, brought to life with vibrant artwork. ARS Vice Chair Seda Aghamians highlighted the book's role in preserving Artsakh's heritage for future generations. Author Naidi Mkrtchyan shared that she wrote the book during the Artsakh blockade, symbolized by a tilted memorial stone depicted on the side of the book, which the youth are striving to correct. She highlighted that recognizing Artsakh's history, symbols, and culture values is vital to Armenian identity and a declaration of the people's will to return. Pastor of St. Stephen's Armenian Apostolic Church, Very Reverend Father Hrant Tahanyan, led the blessing, stressing the importance of passing on Artsakh stories and history to future generations to keep its legacy alive in the collective and memory of the Armenian people. That's all for tonight's broadcast. Thank you for joining, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Good night.